Hello, and welcome to the second in our series featuring young women leaders in the MENA region, which includes the Middle East and North Africa. I'm Sandy Pappas. I'm a state senator in the state of Minnesota in the US and the executive director and co-founder of Forward Global Women. At Forward Global Women, we bring together women leaders in the MENA region who are strong advocates for both women's empowerment and peace building. We share knowledge and grow leadership skills that help advance and facilitate sustainable peace and security. In today's webinar, I'll interview our guests and then take questions in a Q&A function from you, our viewers. Today, we're featuring two women leaders from Jordan. I'm very pleased to introduce Samia Smadi. Samia, wave. She is coordinating multiple efforts to combat violence against women and girls in Jordan. And Samia has joined in-person convenings with Forward Global Women. The last one she joined with us was in Oslo, Norway. Welcome, Samia. We also have with us Farah Bdour, who's the director of the Amman Center for Peace and Development. And I was very pleased to work with Farah before the COVID pandemic on planning a regional convening, which we had to postpone, but we hope to reschedule. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, and Ramadan Mubarak. I hope you had a wonderful iftar dinner with family or friends.
Yes, actually, we enjoyed it. And unfortunately, with the COVID curfew now, in Jordan, it's difficult, but we are still enjoying it, meditating and praying and spending the time more with the family. So it's really nice.
And how was your iftar dinner, Farah?
Actually, I had it alone because of the lockdown. So I had the iftar alone, unfortunately.
Well, let's hope that we still see vaccines in Jordan. I know they're slow in the MENA region. Outside of Israel, yeah. But let's hope that here in the US, we're starting to slow down. We have in Minnesota about 60% vaccinated, and we're opening up to teenagers down to the age of 12 this week. So we're going to be back to normal this summer, and hope we'll all be back to normal soon. So I have we're really interested in learning about you and kind of your path and how you became active and involved. And so I just wanted to, let's start with Samia. Who or what inspired you to be a leader? I mean, whose shoulders are you standing?
Yes, actually, I would like to pay tribute to late Dr. Wafa Bani, Dr. Rula Qawas, and Her Excellency Wafa Bani Mustafa. She's a former women parliamentarian in the Jordanian parliament, and especially to Dr. Rula Qawas. I've known him before Her Excellency Wafa, and she was the person who inspired me to be a patron for women's rights and activists. As well, the personal status law, the Jordanian personal status law in Jordan. I feel that it's still unfair towards Jordanian women because it's although it's derived from the Islamic teaching according to the constitution, it should be derived from the Islamic teachings or Sharia. But it's unfair to the women because situations are changing. You can't refer everything back to the 7th century. So we need to cope with the new developments and changing. For example, one of the things that I feel very unfair to women is that women are not allowed to travel with their children unless they get the approval of the ex-husband. While men can do that, they can travel with the children without the consent of the mother. So this is, in my opinion, unfair. So that's
very unfair. Yeah.
So that's what motivated me to be like a women rights advocate and women rights defender.
I'm very happy you mentioned Rula Qawas. She was one of the co-founders, as Samia knows, of Forward Global Women, and she passed away unexpectedly a couple of years ago, and we certainly do miss her, and we miss her involvement. And we actually established a scholarship in her name And we're going to be doing a special program this summer in her honor and featuring the scholarship recipient. But back to my original question about what inspired you to become a leader or whose shoulder you're standing on. Farah, let's hear a little bit what you have to share with us.
Actually, first things first, I do not consider myself as a leader. But if the question is what inspired me to do what I do, I would say, the people around me, the Jordanian people, despite the fact that they lack resources, that they have a vulnerable economy, that they face a wide range of challenges, yet they always throughout history, they opened their doors and their hearts to all those who need, refuge and safety in the region. So I'm really inspired by the values of, solidarity and generosity of the people around me. Just today, basically everyone I spoke to, everyone I encountered with, every person in all the capacities that they have, they all were thinking about how we can contribute and stand in solidarity with the families of Sheikh al-Jarrah neighborhood in Jerusalem. And when you are, surrounded by these people, it's become, part of what you do. You want to do something and contribute and having your share of responsibility to others. So it's the Jordanian people, it's the values that they believe in, the values of generosity, solidarity, and justice. So that's what inspired me to do what I do.
And they certainly did have an issue with welcoming in Palestinian refugees and now Syrian refugees in the north, correct?
True, like throughout the history.
Is there like 1 million Syrians in northern Jordan?
So the official number of Syrian refugees in Jordan are 600,000, but the actual number is 1.4 million, Syrian refugees. The 80% of these Syrian refugees are integrated outside of refugees camps, and they are basically living within, the Jordanians, homes and cities everywhere. And that's again why I feel, so inspired by those people who have, little to give, but they are, the most to give,
So Farah doesn't want to call herself a leader, but she's going to have to figure out how to answer my next question because I see her that way. So maybe it is, the question needs to be, how did you become in a situation where you had to take on leadership? And I know that there's much to inspire young women to hear about you, young women who did step up and take some leadership. Samia, what about you? How did that happen with you, that you became a leader?
The path to leadership is patience, transparency, self-accountability, hard work, and attributing the efforts and the success to the people who have done these efforts. These are really important. These are really very important characteristics of a good leader. So I think these are very important characteristics for a good leader. And I think that I believe in resolution, United Resolution 1325 regarding women, peace and security. Once women participate in the negotiations and conflict resolution and peace process, they will be a really good example for other women, and they will really solve many problems, unlike men, actually. And they proved really good success in these domains. We have seen women in COVID-19 crisis. We have seen women leaders in New Zealand, in Taiwan, how they were successful. When Forbes magazine mentioned them. So we all need to integrate more women in these domains, because I believe that they really can make peace. Women are peacemakers. I believe in that.
And that leads me to Farah, who is the leader of the Amman Center for Peace and Development. So how did that happen for you?
So I'm the programs director. I'm not the chief of the center. I don't want to convey any, false, messages or image. So how do I become a leader? I was so fortunate in my life to have encountered with leaders who I respect and I admire, and those in a way help me and support me in pursuing the path I want and believe that I should follow. And I really want to second what Samia said. When you are surrounded by these leaders, you realize some characteristics in all of these leaders. And one of the characteristics that I observed with all the people that I worked with is that all of them they centralize the concept of empathy and moral imagination in everything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned throughout the years how to put myself in others people's shoe, try to see the world through their perspectives, through their life, and especially those people who are across lines of difference, people who are different from me, whether in political views, in ideology and race and religion and gender and everything. And I think once you nurture those skills, once you work hard in order to equip them, anything that you come up with, any plan, any strategy will be very inclusive for the people that you are working with. And when you're creating this inclusive, I would say, spaces, diversity will become a byproduct of empathy. And that is very important. And this is one of the things that I learned from all the people from all the leaders that I work with. And I also learned from them how to be persistent. Living in the Middle East, it's not the easiest region to live in. It's prone to conflict. You have so many issues: political tension, ideological extremism, and then you have the high unemployment rates, which really affect everything that you do. And living in a context with these external factors affect everything that you do and believe in one way or another, but most likely negatively. I think it's very important to be persistent and find a way or a motive or a spark that give you the reason to wake up in the morning and just continue what you do. And I have to say that this is something that I learned from people who I worked with. It's not something that I was born with. There are a lot of times when something happened and I say to myself, this is khalas, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I look to those leaders and I see that they endured so much, and yet they made a choice to continue doing what they are doing.
So I have to believe, though, that in that path, there must have been some challenges or some obstacles that you had to overcome, because, life just isn't that perfect. Do you have something that you want to share with us?
Well, I don't want to convey a false image that I've been, targeted, individually, but I would say that based on my own observation, what is the biggest challenges that we all face, regardless of where we are? I think it's the rise of populism, populist leaders who claim that they, monopolize the representation of people. And it's so easy when they create this polarized context. It's so easy, for those who have different views, different, perspective, to be canceled, to be delegitimized, to be accused of so many, things. So, I think this is the main, issue that we face. And again, I don't want to I don't like the victimhood narrative of women being victims, but I would say are the easiest target in this context are women and their bodies, their choices, and everything that they think of. So I would say the biggest challenge is the rise of populism. And the other thing, and it's my own observation, maybe in my own context, that might not be the same in other contexts, that in the past, civil society organizations, they used to be the group who were stand against populist rhetoric. They used to be the fighters for liberal freedoms. But nowadays, maybe because their struggle with the number of their support base, and they want, to protect the little support base that they have. They sometimes keep silent. They pick their battles, and which is rightly, it's a very smart thing to do, like just to pick battles about where to make a statement or a position, because you don't want to lose the support that you have. But sometimes also I saw civil society organization attack other organizations who are different from them and in political views. So again, like when you are in this context, it becomes so easy, to be canceled. It becomes so easy, to be, delegitimized. And again, I'm not talking only about myself. I'm talking in general. When we are part of this context, whether in the Middle East or in the West, like all of us, face the negative consequences of the rise of this trend.
Right, and this turning into your own country and your own self, this nationalism, then can also lead to discrimination against the outsider and fear of the outsider. That's a really good observation. Samia, what did you find to be one of your challenges?
I will start where Farah ended. Yes, I agree with you. And actually, because of that, we as women defenders and advocates, we receive a backlash from the common people and the most of the people here in Jordan, that we are bringing Western agenda because we defend women's rights, and that because we defend women's rights, that gives us a backlash because we are going to destroy the family structure. That's what they intend to say about us all the time. And because of that, we have hard time convincing people, for example, that abolishing Article 308 from the Penal Code is really important to stop killing innocent women who get, and to stop the marry or rapist article, because it's not fair that a girl get raped and married to the same person who raped her. So yeah, we got a huge backlash about that, but I keep telling people, maybe at this moment of time, this article, abolishing this article, will create a lot of problems because the perpetrator will not be convinced to stay with the victim because he raped her, and he can marry her, he can escape the punishment. But later on, he will learn that doing this will cause him a big penalty. So we'd like to always stress that fact, that although defending women's rights at this moment can receive a backlash, but later on, people will be convinced that this is the right thing, this is the right decision to make.
So you have two efforts going on here, two movements. One is kind of back to a mythical past with populism, and yet you also have women rising up wanting their equality and their rights. And I think that Farah actually talked about, my next question would have to do with authentic and non-authentic leaders, because you see a lot of the rise of authoritarianism, and are those true leaders? Or when we're looking at authentic leaders who make other people around them also become leaders, so that it's more of a shared effort, a team effort. I mean, one person can't solve all the problems of the world. We really have to work together. And I think that when Farah said in the beginning that she didn't call herself a leader, I saw that kind of humility that she was showing, as because we all need to step up and we all need to be leaders, and we not all need to overcome these challenges, which are, as you mentioned, challenging in the Middle East and all over the world for women. So in terms of trying to center yourself to be an authentic leader, are there things that you do? Are there people that kind of remind you, hold you accountable? How do you maintain that? Let's start with Samia. How do you do you have a circle of friends that you work with? How do you kind of keep true to yourself?
I think being patient and working with many stakeholders and always keeping around you people who believe in the same things you believe in. This is really important. This is what makes us sustain, especially in the rise of cyberbullying and the social media. It's really hard to sustain. I'm telling you, Sandy, it's not easy because cyberbullying does not affect women only, but it also affects their families as well. Many women leaders, they leave their leadership position because they feel offended by
the
bullying.
bullied. Yeah.
So it's very important to be patient and to be strong and to keep around you people who are positive, who believe in the same cause you're believing in. So in my opinion, these are the most important things.
Absolutely. And Farah, what helps keep you grounded?
Again, like what Samia said, just to have a support system of friends and family members who not necessarily agree with what I believe in, but they agree with my right, to say whatever I want to say. I mean, I think of, authentic leaders, especially in the Jordanian context. Like if you ask any Jordanian citizen, they will say that authentic leaders, they have to have integrity and transparency, and these two things that we lack in our context. We need leaders who say things behind closed doors are the same that they say in public. We need leaders who do not manipulate and change the message according to the receivers. It's so important to nurture this integrity and being transparent about what they believe in and about their agendas as well. I don't think that the people, they need to agree with them, but at least if they see that they are integral and transparent, the gap of trust that has been characterized the relationship between communities and leaders, whether in official or unofficial setting, will be minimized. So when you have people who you trust, and they trust you for whatever that you believe in, they are more likely to engage with you. They are more likely to support you. And I really think that in our context, what we need right now, and I'll go back to the populist our argument, that what we need right now is to have more morally courageous leaders. We need leaders who would say the things for the right things, where their compass are in the right place, when they have ethical compasses, not because the majority of people are following a certain path or adapting a certain view. And we need such leaders to demonstrate that it's okay to stand against the current, that it's okay to stand for what you believe in. So again, like in the Jordanian context, what I hope to see, and I wish that I demonstrate in everything that I do, is to be more transparent, to be integral, and to be morally courageous.
If any of our viewers would like to ask questions in the Q&A function, please feel free to do that. I just have a few more questions myself to ask our panelists, but I'm happy to take your questions for them. So as you are in a position to be a coordinator or a program manager or director or executive director or someday a state senator or senator, what is important and necessary for you to do to inspire and motivate women who are younger than you? Because there is going to be another generation coming up. And who wants to go first with this?
Yeah, I feel like I can
Samia.
Yeah. I think reading, keep reading. Don't go to talk to people without reading, without having all the necessary information you need to know to talk to these people. Listen to people, be a good listener. Always go visit around, see people, talk to them. This is really important.
You're talking about younger women, to be visible with them, to encourage them.
I think, keep learning, and teach other. I think leaders as that we know, we can bring them. We can bring the speakers and leaders to talk to young women, to young female future possible leaders. We want to educate them on how to face cyberbullying. We want to educate them on how to how to do public speaking, on
how to stand up for themselves.
Yes, this is really important. And always educate. My recommendation is that young female possible leaders, they should always educate themselves on different aspects of life, on different topics. This is really important. And because I don't know if Lily can share the screen, there is a difference between equality and equity.
Yes, I know you sent a picture for us, so this is a good time for Lily to share the screen and show it.
Yes, if I may ask you, Lily, to share the screen.
Yeah, I think it'll just take a minute. Here it comes.
Yeah. Thank you, Lily. We can see on the right equity. Equity is when you equip the people with the tools, with the necessary education to give them equal opportunities with the rest. We can see how they all can see the game, the match on the right side of the picture. On the left side of the picture, okay, there is equality. Everybody's equal. They are on the same level, but you can't say that they have the same opportunity. They had the same tools to be equal to each other. We can see the one who wears a purple shirt, he can't see the game. So this is the difference between equity and equality. It's very necessary to educate women on how to be good leaders. It's not about a matter of quantity, it's a matter of equality. Thank you, Lily.
That's a very good distinction. I just like to see that graphic with women instead of men, because there is a whole discussion about equality, and that's the graphic is just a perfect example of, if you don't start from the same place, if you don't have the same advantages, the same connections, the same education, the same fairness, lack of discrimination, then you can't possibly achieve as well as the next person who has all those advantages. So the equity issue where you had the higher stools means that, yes, some people do need additional help, additional support in order to reach the same level as those who have those advantages.
Yeah,
so I thought
another thing, Sandy, also women should work with other women, and women should work with their counterparts of men. They should always bring everybody to the table. The disabled, everybody should be on the table. Should put on the table their problems, their issues. So this is very important.
We got a question from one of our viewers about if either of you have ever worked with in the schools with young girls to empower them at a young age.
Sorry.
Farah.
Well, I worked with young generation age 14 to 16, through my work at Seeds of Peace. We equip young leaders, both female and male, with the relationship and the skills that they need to make change in their communities. And the change that we would like to see is to create more just and inclusive societies. So yes, I did work with young women. But to go back to your question, Sandy, I was thinking about this question, and I really don't know what should I do, to inspire, young women. I agree with everything that Samia said, that yes, you need education and you need to empower them with the skills and the relationship and the network. But I also say, if a young woman wants to be inspired, she can find inspiration everywhere she looks. All you need to do is just look around you. You might stand at your house balcony and realize that you need to create safe spaces for kids to play, or you need more reliable transportation, or maybe you need to think of ways to fully integrate refugees in the community that you live in. So I think the point that I want to raise, you don't need others, to inspire them, even though that I respect the argument so much. And I think that there's a lot that should be done. But if they have it in them, if they want to be inspired, they will find inspiration anywhere.
That's an excellent example, right? Because there are inspiring women all over the world, and including Dr. Rula Quawis, who inspired this organization to start. Are you aware of organizations that work solely on helping young women become leaders in Jordan? Any organizations you've worked with? I know Samia is mostly working on the violence against women issue, but are there other organizations that are there?
I am aware of that only targets, young women. I'm not really aware of, but there are hundreds and hundreds of initiatives that target, young people to be integrated in the social and political scene. There is an issue that Jordan faces, and I don't think that Jordan is the only country that faces that the participation, and especially the political participation of young generation in the political scene, is very humble. If we looked around the world, the young people only consist 2% of the parliamentarians, even though that they are, if you took their number collectively on a global level, that they are, the majority of population. So there are a lot of initiatives in Jordan that works to empower these young, people. Part of what Seeds of Peace do in Jordan is to provide a program for leadership empowerment, and there are a lot of subjects in this program that's directed towards public advocacy. We invest a lot in teaching kids how to speak in public, how to build coalition, how to analyze powerhouses, and how to work with the government in order to enact certain policies and make change. Because at the end of the day, when you are working in the Middle Eastern context, let me put it that way, the last thing that you want is to put young generation in a confrontation with the authority. So you have to build this context of where they can work with the authorities in order to make change and let their voices, be heard. I think, Samia knows that one of the problems that we faced in Jordan, that a lot of young generation, young people have joined terrorist groups. And when we try to realize and analyze why these, young people, took this path, one of the most, important thing was the marginalization of their identity and their voices, because they did not have any platform for them to speak and to engage and to really be actors and agents for change in their communities. So I don't know if there is a specific organizations that work on female young leaders, but I can tell you that there are hundreds and hundreds of initiatives that work to empower young
leaders, men and women.
And because of the necessity and because of the situation and regional, situation that we live in, we don't have any other choice but to work and equip them and work and including them in the social and political scene.
Here's two questions I'm going to combine, and one is about educating the Jordanian population to be more inclusive to women's empowerment, as well as involving men who are part of the Jordanian population in the discussion about women's rights.
Yes, if I may ask,
Samia.
The best way is to always invite them to the discussion, even if they are of the opposition, even if they oppose your opinion. It's very important to invite them to the discussion, to the table, so they can share, so they can know and learn why you are asking for change, why you are asking for equality, why it is important. Many men keep asking me, why should women work? Why should my wife, and you can't believe it, they are really young males. So why should women work? I don't want my wife to work. I keep telling them, I want to talk to you in a reasonable way. What if something happened to you? How can your wife live after you? And how can she earn living? How can she like have the children, and she can't offer them anything. So it's very important for her to work. It's very important to empower her economically, because once she's empowered economically, she has her identity, she has her personality. So it's very important to always argue with the opposition on with men, with women, whether they are men or women. When we used to do round tables, we always used to invite. When I was working at the parliament, we always used to invite women members of the Islamic Front, from the Islamic Front Party. They are always opposing our demands on women's rights, but once we invite them and talk to them, we found that they are flexible and they can learn and why we are asking for that. And we can also we have their on the back of us. So it's very important to always keep talking to them, to involve them, to involve people with disabilities, to involve the refugees, to involve, because everybody has its own problems, everybody has its own issues. So if you want to be realistic, you have to invite all these people to the table.
So you're talking about inclusivity, and I have a question from Adam about the inclusion of women and men, I suppose, in the LGBTQ plus community. And what is the situation for them, and are they being involved in any leadership positions? Specifically, the question says in women's organizations.
If you want my opinion, the LGBT is still a taboo in Jordan, in a community like Jordan. We cannot talk about their rights here. If we demand basic rights for women, we will have a backlash that we bring a Western agenda. What about if we speak about the LGBT rights? It's a big taboo here in Jordan. But you cannot deny that there is like secret communities there. But still, it's a big taboo here. So these issues we cannot discuss yet.
And let me see if I have any other questions. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about today, whether it's kind of your future plans or your organizations or the kind of work that you're doing now? Anything that you want to kind of share with us? The floor is yours. Farah.
Well, basically, my plan for this year is to launch the 2021, RISE application, which is a youth leadership, program. I'm very excited. In the past, couple of weeks, I met a lot of young, students from all around the country, and having a conversation with them as part of the selection process. And I was really, impressed by how motivated and the energy level that they have. When you think about them, like they have a lot of brilliant ideas. They're so much intelligent, and in a way they scare me. They intimidate me so much, because I think of what kind of program should I design that mean the level of intelligence that these young leaders have. So I'm very excited about this year, and I'm and intimidated at the same time. And I think that there is a lot of responsibility to create platforms and safe spaces for kids to talk about everything without having any type of taboo, and let them exchange ideas and then come up with plans, because I think it's very important to have dialogue and discussion and nurture empathy and moral imagination. All of these soft skills are important, but it's even more important to direct this dialogue and soft skills towards something tangible, to have like more action-oriented, program. And that's why it's very important to focus on other skills like conflict resolution and mediation, like what Samia, mentioned earlier about how to, the public advocacy, training, or the design thinking, or all these skills. that will eventually be very essential in everything that they plan in order to make a tangible change in their community. So I'm very excited about this year, and I feel, as I said, I'm intimidated. I feel there's a lot of responsibility that I designed something that meets the level of intelligence and energy that these young kids have.
Samia, what are you looking forward to this year?
Yes, I'm really excited, and this answers also one of the questions from the participants. To start working with Her Excellency Wafa Bani Mustafa, we are establishing a center in the Middle East University for empowering young leaders, young female leaders. I'm really looking forward to be part of this project. And I'm really excited because I have worked before with young female students in the University of Jordan, and you can't imagine how they are enthusiastic and how they are full of energy. They want to be volunteers all the time. They want to do, we used to go to the orphanage, to the elder people houses, and they were really excited to be part of these activities. And this tells you a lot, that they have really great potentials to be leaders. They have really great potentials to talk to other people, to be part of the benevolent actions. So it's very important to always empower these characteristics within them. So for example, one of the students I have been working with, she met me one day and she said, we are teaching, she became a teacher, and she said, we are teaching our students what you have taught us. And you can see from here that this is very important, is to be part of educating, to educate one person, to be part of educating more than hundreds of students. So it's very important to always keep talking to young people, to bring religious people, prosecutors, judges, to talk to them, because when talking to these people, you will be talking, you will be more convincing in your discourse with the common people. So it's very important to bring all of these people together, to keep working with the stakeholders, to keep educating young female leaders. So I hope that, I'm looking forward for that center to work again with young students and leaders.
That was wonderful. Wonderful to hear from both of you. Thank you so much, Farah and Samia, for joining us tonight. I want to thank our program manager, Lily, for managing all the technical details for us. To our audience, please join us for our next webinar. It's coming up soon, May 23rd, which will feature women leaders from Libya. So we're very excited. Watch for the invitation for that. I'd like to end with a quote from one of our co-founders. We mentioned her earlier, Forward Global Women, Professor Rula Kwawis, who I mentioned passed away suddenly a few years ago. And it's the dedication to one of her books. For all young women who dare to step out of the history that is holding them back and into the new story that they are willing to create. Thank you so much, Samia and Farah, for sharing your new stories. And to everyone who's joined us today, see you next time.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Farah. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone.